This isn't gonna work well.
It's fun.
If you're thinking about getting into model railroading or you're already an addict, boy, do we have a project for you. In this episode, we're gonna rise to the occasion, starting right now. Hey, welcome to It's My Railroad, the how-to show for regular people. On this show, we celebrate regular people building their model railroads because frankly, most of us are just regular people building model railroads. We have a lot of fun together. We're learning a ton. So if you're into that sort of thing, why not just subscribe? And then don't forget to push that little bell icon so you can catch future videos. We got so much stuff done in the hobby room in this episode that I cannot wait to get to it and show you all the cool stuff that happened. But before we do, just a couple of small little things to go over. First of all, if you haven't entered the 10K giveaway sweepstakes yet, what are you waiting for? The polar vortex? Wait a minute, was that off color? Is it too soon for that? Oh my gosh. Hey, listen, down in the description, you're gonna find a link to the rules and how you enter. So when you're done watching this video, get down there, click it, and enter the contest. Second thing is, I installed the LED lighting on the layout right over here on the bottom of the top deck to light up the bottom deck. But unfortunately, it came in really late in the day and I just went and installed it and I shot some video of it, but we're not gonna go over that in this episode. But I promise you, when we start the next episode next week, we're gonna see if we can stuff that right at the beginning. All right, rail fans, let's get into this. If you've been watching, you know we've got our decks in, we've got the shelves in the hobby room, all kinds of junk in here to build a model railroad. And then we decided we're gonna put switch junction, boom, right back onto the layout and tie it in and scenic this whole thing. Well, we're still working on that. And today in the hobby room, we did something that was necessary to that end. And frankly, I'm so excited about it and I so much want to show it to you. Then rather than babbling on right now, I'm just going to take you back in time to when I put this in right here. Hey, good morning, rail fans. Welcome back to the hobby room. It is Friday, February 8th, and I get all day to work out here on the Brownsmith Railroad. Very excited about that. What is not so exciting is it's like 38 degrees outside right now, and it got down to freezing overnight. And I happen to know that in this area, it pushes north of 100 during the summer. So what that means is in a couple episodes, when we start laying track, we're gonna have to worry about expansion and contraction, something I've never had to deal with before. But like I said, that's for a future episode. What I wanna get done today is to get the riser in that goes from behind Fertile Valley, behind the logging camp, coal mine, all the way through to Switch Junction, and then pops back through the wall. And I just want to get right on it. So over on the other side, not in the hobby room, I've set up a piece of plywood and my sawhorses, and let's just get over there, make some marks, get some cutting done, and start building this thing. Hey, welcome to the other side of the garage. I've got sitting in front of me here a piece of OSB that I originally cut to screw down to the framework on the bottom deck of the BSR, and then I was going to make my riser on top of that and everything would have been groovy, except I'm concerned that I won't have access to the bottom of the track going up the riser for any kind of maintenance with wiring and stuff. So I'm changing that up a little bit. I've seen this done a whole lot of different ways and I've been thinking about it a lot. Here's a little human interest story for you. People stress out about different things, right? I have been stressed out about this and obsessed with this, what we're gonna do today, for weeks. And I just need to shove off and get it done. So that's what's gonna happen right now. We're just shoving off and we're gonna get it done. Anyway, what I intend to do is to make a piece that follows the radius around and gets around behind the logging camp and screw that to the framework. And then make its sister piece, its twin, that'll actually be sitting on risers all the way around as we raise the elevation up. So that's just how I'm gonna do it. Plenty of different ways to do it. And like I said, we're just gonna shove off. All right, so here's the OSB, here's my tape measure, here's a pin, boom, ready to rock and roll. I wanna end up making a 36-inch radius U-turn basically, where we come through the front of the layout, go through the wall, and then finish the turn on the other side. So what I decided to do then is just grab the old tape measure, find 18 inches, which is right here. 18 inches being half of 36, and 18 inches here. That's my start and end point for now. And unlike other times where I've, set up a compass and stuff, this is rough carpentry, and I'm not concerned about it being exact. I just want to sort of get her done. So by holding my tape measure on the mark and my pen on the end of the tape measure, I'm going to get this pretty close. Boom, there we go. I've got an arc. I know you can't see that very well because, well, that's just the way it is. So there's my first arc. And then I decided I'm gonna have a double track main that comes through here and turns into a single track main. And I'll tell you why it's a single track main later. But to get me the width I need, I am just going to a little overcompensate and come back 4 inches for this bottom piece. So 4 inches, that means 1, 2, I'll bring that to 14 and do the same thing. Okay, so that's a 90-degree turn right there. I think I want to add another 22 degrees to that, plus or minus. And to do that, we know that, let's say, if I finish this arc, I'm gonna know where 45 degrees is, then I can get 22. So why don't we just finish the arc, at least on the outside. Something like that. And then eyeballing it, I'm about halfway here, that would be 45 degrees, and then splitting that distance, I got about 22 degrees right there. So, that being the case, if I put a straight edge in here, that 22 mark, and put a line here. So that's my turn into my straight section. Now let's come over here and mark the receiving radius to send it down beyond the logging camp. To get the tail end of this, I already know right here is where the logging camp mates up because this piece fit right in there. So as long as I make my turn here behind this point, I think I'm gonna be okay. But I think I just wanna sort of eyeball this to get a nice gentle slope back into about 4 inches away from here. So let me get 4 inches measured out. That's ultimately where that is gonna stop. If you guys hear any noise in the background while I'm doing this, by the way, it's the trash truck outside. They have no respect for studio time. That's the back of the cut. And then, like I said, we'll just sort of eyeball this right here. I want to make this 4 inches wide here because we're still in the double track main. And complete backside. Well, I'd say so far that's going along swimmingly. So let me get a jigsaw rigged up and just hog through this. Okay, so the piece is cut out and it's sitting on top of the bench work just so I can see if it works. And so far, I'm pretty happy with it. I got a nice arc here and it goes back in behind the logging camp like it's supposed to do. And I've got it 6 inches away from this side over here because ultimately the switch junction lead is gonna come around and be sort of on the downhill side of whatever mountainous structure we build back here, which is gonna be fun. So the next step, in my humble opinion, is to make a twin of this that the track will actually sit on, and then make me some risers at a 1x3s that I bought at Lowe's this morning that will just step up all the way along there, put it all together, and see how that looks. The sister piece is cut and it's sitting over here off to the side, but right now I'm gonna get these risers made. And what I did is I went ahead and marked this piece of wood out right now, but here's some of the logic behind it. 1/4 inch per foot is roughly a 2% grade. And I think I can get away with a 2% grade, at least in the front. Gonna be running some 6-foot long trains. With 2 at the head, it's still, I don't wanna go too crazy on the grade for this piece of the layout. So I've marked this piece of wood out for the risers that are increasingly 1/4 inch longer as we go down. One piece of note though, I made this piece a little different. I allowed for the thickness of a 1x3. because on the piece I'm gonna put on top, I wanna put a splice plate that I can screw the continuing piece right to make sure I have a nice edge butted up so the track goes over it smoothly. So anyway, this piece is a little different, but each one of those is increasingly 1/4 inch longer. You're gonna see in a minute how I intend to install these on the 2 pieces we cut out, but for right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and get them cut out and then set up in such a way that maybe you can follow along while I do it. Well, there you go. Got the riser pieces cut out, 13 of them, which will get me about 13 feet, frankly. And you can see that they're 1/4 inch intervals all the way down. Once I space those out by a foot, that should give me about a 2% grade. And then back here, of course, I cut this piece down a little further because we're gonna have a 1x3 sitting on top of that. That's gonna be used as a splice plate. So now I'm gonna set up and start screwing these to the piece that screws down to the bench work. Okay, I've got the first piece of riser sitting in its position. And again, I've got this flipped upside down so I can drive a screw in there. And here's the thing, I don't know necessarily that I need it, but I'm gonna put some carpenter's wood glue in there before I set the screw, just to make sure it cinches up and we don't have any kind of problems in the future. Problem is, the top is all clogged on my glue and I can't get it unclogged. So we're just gonna do it the old sloppy fashioned way and just get a little glue on here. That's pretty good. Now what I'll do is I'm gonna measure back a foot and put the second piece in, and then we'll just keep on going. All right, so I brought it back into the hobby room, set it pretty close to in place where it goes on the bench work. Here's the thing, you can see right back in here, and I'll give you a little bit better shot of it in a minute, but the track's gonna actually go up and through that piece of backdrop right there. So what we're gonna end up needing to do then is getting this lined up where we think it goes, which it's pretty close now. And then we're gonna go through and mark out the backdrop so we can get through there. And then we're gonna take the backdrop actually off, so when we cut it, we don't beat the crap out of it, all right? We also need to get the plywood cut on the other side of this wall. So again, we'll get set up for that, and let's just keep rolling, baby. All right, I've got this sitting roughly 6 inches away from that wall, like we said earlier, to give me room to pass by with the switch junction lead. And here's kind of an idea of what's gonna be happening here. We're gonna have a splice plate, right, like this in there. And on top of it's going to be sitting the plywood for the top. So that right there kind of tells me that right there, I've got to make sure I've got it cleared right here, just to get the bench work and everything through. And then I'm figuring we'll go ahead and allow for 3 inches above that somewhere, and a little wider than we need, like that, to get the trains through and still be able to, from the back, I'm gonna have to cut a bigger hole. I'm gonna need to get my hand in there in case a train derails or I need to clean the track or something. So that's roughly the shape I'm gonna go cut out right now. Let me take this off, go cut that, and we'll install the bottom piece of the riser. So the backdrop's off, it's on the other side, it's cut, blah, blah, blah. Right now, I'm gonna cut this plywood out and see how that works out. So I pretty much want it to be right here, a hole, so that I have my splice plate will fit through there and everything else. And then we just need the width that the trains are going to use, plus some. It's going to be hidden. So I'll make it a little oversized to be able to get my hand in there if I have to. So maybe something like that up to maybe here. I know you can't see that, but once I put my frickin' saw in there and start hogging it out, you'll be able to see it. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill a couple of holes in the corners and just cut that rectangle out. Well, there you go. Got my hole in. I'm sure I can get back into here easy enough if there's a problem. So right now, let's screw this whole thing down and then put the other piece on top and keep rolling. All right, so I just have this sitting here right now, but there you can see the splice plate and sort of the riser configuration as it comes up and around, and then ultimately back here behind the logging camp. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty pumped up about the way this looks right now. Like I said, I've spent countless hours going over this in my head to the point where I can't sleep at night sometimes. Obsessed much? So I think what we'll do now is go through and screw this piece down, then screw this piece to that, and then just keep going until we get all the way around to the back of switch junction. So looking down from the God's eye view, you can sort of see I've started the bottom piece coming around. It's real hard to show you guys this while I'm doing it, so I thought I'd just give you an update. But comes around like this behind switch junction and then makes the turn to head out to the back of the layout. But here's a couple things that I'm not thrilled with. Well, right here, that turn seems a little bit sharp. I'm not certain what radius it is. It just eyeballing it, it looks a little sharp. So we're gonna have to do something there. And then moving over here, you see how close that gets to that other track. I'm not really thrilled with that either. If I put the top piece on exactly like that's shown, I'm not going to be thrilled with it, I think, in the long run. So I'm going to make some adjustments to the top piece and still use this bottom piece. I'll show you how that looks in just a minute. Well, rail fans, there is the continuation of the whole riser complex coming up through there. And for the most part, pretty stoked about it, to tell you the truth. It comes along, it curves through here. Then we end up back in here where I told you I was gonna have that problem. But you know, I went through and I offset the top piece before I screwed it down, and I cut out the riser pieces a little bit. And there is, for the most part, plenty of clearance here to get a mountainside built up from the bottom track. It's gonna be very close right here. And I figure right there, I'll just let a rock face or something come out and meet up with that track and then continue on from there. Rail fans, that is one heck of a day's work. I got the entire riser built on this deck of the layout all the way around. It's very stable, makes some nice curves and transitions, and I just sit here imagining my trains going up and down this thing. And there you go, we have the riser installed on the layout, and I'm singing because I'm totally digging it. I'll just sit there, like I said, and stare at it and pretend I got some choo-choos running up and down. Boom, both sides. Next week, we'll get to showing you a little bit of how I put this LED lighting in, hopefully get behind the layout and start running the riser that's gonna go up along the backside to connect the two decks. It's gonna be so exciting. I sure hope you come back and watch it. Otherwise, what am I doing all this for? Anyway, this is the kind of stuff we do here on It's My Railroad and our Saturday morning 7 a.m. Pacific show, Track Smack. So if you're into that sort of thing, make sure and subscribe. Don't forget to like and share this video with somebody. And again, thank you so much for being here with me today. And until next time, my name is Steve Brown. Rail on, my friends.